Yo, guys, Jeff Barton again on the behalf of the Wakeboarding Hall of Fame. And boy, do we have a special guest right now, Hall of Fame inductee and executive director, Mike Weddington. He's joined us today. Mike, how's it going down in North Carolina?
It is going well, JB, man. I appreciate you having me on. I'm excited to kick this off and just catch up, man. It's like forever any of us have seen each other and things are just coming back to normal. So, dude, it's great to see you over this video chat, and I can't wait for some real in-person catch-ups, man.
Yeah, without a doubt. These are going to be things, Mike, that we're doing with all of our inductees and things that we can revisit. So I want to find out a little bit more about you. You know, I look at you, know a little bit about your background, but for those that are out there that are checking this out, Mike Weddington, your origins in wakeboarding, where did it all start?
Man, it started way back in the day. There was a former inductee, one of the initial inaugural inductees, Eric Perez. I met him in Florida, and he was actually doing some training down there, and he literally introduced me to the early stage Hyperlight, the first compression molded board, right? That was on the scene. I had done the Scurfer before and different iterations of, kind of boards like that, the roto molded stuff. But Eric Perez introduced me to the board in its more current iteration, obviously a directional board at that time. And I mean, as soon as he put me on it, I was like, dude, this is what I want to do.
You know, how did you make the distinction, Mike? I mean, I felt that passion as well. But in your case, when you decided that this is something that you wanted to do, how did you know that something to do could become a great professional route? How did you make that leap into making it be your life's existence?
It was interesting. I mean, when you're passionate about something and you get excited about something and you're whatever, 16 years old, 15 years old, 17 years old, you think the world's your oyster anyway, right? You think you can do anything. And I think after my first dreams of becoming a professional musician were crushed because I wasn't that good. I felt like I was like, man, this is something that actually I feel drawn to. I love being in the water, anything on, in, or around the water. I've always been drawn to, and really felt like, I don't know if this is something you can make a career out, but seeing Eric Perez's time in the industry, I knew there was some way to fit in and create some sort of existence around this, budding sport.
Well, you certainly did just that, Mike. And in fact, again, you were so early in the days of wakeboarding that yours became accelerated. Let's first talk about the impact you had as a professional. Talk to me about 1995 when you, Mike Weddington, won the Pro Men's World Championship.
Yeah, dude, that was an amazing year. I mean, the year prior, I had ridden in my first World Championships, and Scott Byerly and Gator took the top spots there down in Islamorada, Florida. And it was just, I mean, it was one of those things where I knew those guys and we had ridden together and trained together, and they were just, even as my peers, were just some of the most amazing riders and talents I'd ever seen in my life. And going into that 95 season, I was just starting to have some success on the tournament series, and I was able to get sponsored by a couple different companies, but also my first full tilt pro model board was produced. I mean, literally our first pressed edition was about a month prior to the World Championships. And, it was great. I mean, it was Kobe and myself and Thomas Harrell and Andrea, and we were all practicing and training together and getting out on the water every day. And we had even gone down to Thomas Harrell's home, his family home in Winter Haven, Florida, and had trained about the month prior to Worlds, just trying to kind of sequester ourselves and get really focused. And I had literally ridden the worst I had ridden probably in my entire life leading up to it. So I went into this event, with no real expectations, with no pressure on myself to perform other than, just go out there and have fun. I didn't feel like I had been riding well. I didn't feel like I had much of a chance against the icons in the sport who were, the Scott Byerlys or the Darrens or the Deans or the Shannons or whomever, and just went out there and rode like it didn't matter, right? It was one of those things where the pressure's off and you're putting it all on the line for the heck of it. it came together, and the result was what it was, you know?
Well, it was a memorable experience for you for sure, Mike. And again, that was reflective of a competitive accolade that you earned. But another big thing with what you guys were doing was the documentarian style films. Talk to me about being a part of that, how that truly helped evolve the sport. What you guys were doing, riding privately at Lake Shasta down in Florida. You guys certainly got to do some shredding in some awesome places, and the videos prove it.
Oh man, I think I certainly am most grateful and most thankful for those times where we got together with the Fall Line Films guys, or Jerry and Artie over there, or Ron Seidenglands at Sideways Films, and his crew of talented cameramen and people that were handling stuff, but getting to travel and literally go hang out with your buddies, right? Once again, it's Brandon Meek and John McDougall, and so some more obscure riders that are talents and huge influences on a greater whole. But going out to, whether it be a Shasta or a Lake Powell for Spray or Hit It or Mayday, or some of the other kind of iconic early time films that we did, and riding with your buddies and just trying stuff out. You're putting together groups of people that necessarily didn't ride together on the regular, i.e. Josh Smith, Eric Schmaltz, myself, people that wouldn't have that opportunity because you came from kind of different parts of the country, and all getting together and sharing these influences in an unstructured, unpressured, just very natural and impressionable way, right? Where you were influencing each other, but you were laughing at each other or making fun of each other, or just talking about, oh, why would you do that? Or what do you do that for? Or how do you do that? And learning. And it was just this really amazing kind of, it was an evolutionary time, but it wasn't we weren't trying to evolve. It was just happening through sharing and letting it occur.
And I'll say, Mike, all those films definitely reflected the organic experience you guys were having out there. It was just kind of as you said, a natural evolution of great athletes. Now, speaking about a natural evolution, and again, you're going to be a great resource for us, Mike. We're going to revisit you, but I want to bring it up to modern day, because again, you're still having a huge impact on the sport of wakeboarding. You have become the executive director of the Wake Hall of Fame. Obviously, still making a big impact. Talk to me about that position, and talk to me about some of the goals of the Wake Hall of Fame.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I feel really, really honored to be a part of what the Wake Hall of Fame is doing. And I got on the board by way of Tommy Phillips and Jim Emmons, two iconic folks in the sport who have been kind of behind the scenes, in front of the scenes, all over the place in different roles throughout the history of our sport. And they asked if I would like to engage with the Wake Hall of Fame and help out. And I said, absolutely. I had been in other industries for my work life or whatever, but I always kept close ties with all my friends from back in the day, and then what was going on in the sport. And so when they reached out to me if I would like to help out, I said absolutely, and wanted to learn about the preserve and honor mission of the Wake Hall of Fame, because it's so important that we as an entity and as a nonprofit understand where the sport came from, who were the influencers, right? There was a lot of obscure players in the game that added such, whether it's design elements or influences that even I've forgotten a lot of these things, but you go back through, and when you get a group of people together and we all kick ideas back and forth, just like JB, you and I would do, just hanging out, having a drink, chatting up about the old days, you remember things that were, wow, where did that come from? How did the tower come into existence? How did these wakes go from being these tiny little things that we were riding behind back in the day to these monstrous, beautiful ramps that we see now, right? So, I'm really excited how the Wake Hall of Fame is looking retrospectively at, hey, what are the influences that have gotten us to today, and how do we honor and preserve through the mission of the nonprofit to do this? And so, we've really, hopefully to this point now, honored a lot of the early innovators, lifetime achievers, you know, and different folks, athletes as well, obviously, that had so much to do with the beginning of our sport. But we also, there's so much to do. There's so many untold stories. And that's why I'm so grateful for the series that you're now putting together.
Yep.
To be able to chronicle this and digitally remember all of these things, right? And the things that may be lost to the annals of time. Did we not sit here and chat about it and laugh about it? And hey, you remember this and whatever.
Yeah, Micah, absolutely. Again, you're a perfect example of exactly what we're doing, Mike. Again, former world champion, current executive director of the Wake Hall of Fame, and inductee member, ladies and gentlemen. That was Mike Weddington. More from him, as well as the 37 other inductees to the Wake Hall of Fame, coming up soon.
Right on, JB. Thanks, brother. I appreciate it.